Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the MIPTV Digital Fronts. How's everybody's MIP going? Yes, give it to me. I said, how is everybody's MIP going? Yes, all right. We have to get our blood pumping. It's the afternoon, and I know the rosé hasn't kicked in quite yet. I am Amber J. Lawson. I am the founder and CEO of Good Amplified. We are the only MCN exclusively servicing nonprofits. And I am your host for day 2 and 3 of the MIP Digital Fronts. This is the 4th year we are doing this, and as you can imagine and have seen, there has been quite an evolution in our space, from MCNs becoming MPNs, the OTT revolution, and YouTubers and creators becoming forces for good on the planet. So it's a really exciting time. And today, we're delving deep. So one thing to remember is follow the conversation, hashtag MIPTV, hashtag MDR. Is it MDR? MIP Digital Front, MDF. Maybe I need a rosé. So we're going to kick off this afternoon really focusing on Gen Z, and we're going to get some insights and some education and some views into some amazing content. And so the first group, the first MCN we're bringing to the table to kick off the Digital Fronts is Zoomin TV, an international MCN focused on Gen Z. So let's see what Zoomin TV is up to.
Hello, Richard.
Hi, Joel. Thanks for joining me on stage today. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Now, in the next half hour, we at Zoomin Studios are going to be telling you what we've learned from Generation Z and how we've been using that knowledge to connect them to television. But first, let's take a look at some facts. Almost half the world's population is under 25. That's a pretty powerful lump of people, right there at the bottom of the pyramid. At the top, we've got the top 5%, the silent generation. There probably aren't any of you here today. If you are, you're probably pretty quiet. Next, we've got the baby boomers, 12%. That's not a lot of you left, is it? Do we have any baby boomers here? Any baby boomers? Yeah, I can see a few watches in the air. Yep. Old TV execs, you're the baby boomers. You're the guys that built this industry. You're the guys that built the TV world around us today. And please don't retire, because the millennials need you. Need your skills and experience.
No, we don't need you. You've done a great job, but you can retire. That's fine. Thank you. Thanks for everything.
Next, Generation X. That's me. Any Generation X here? I'm sure you are. If you're Generation X, you've probably got some good first-hand experience of Gen Z. I've got 3 Gen Z kids, and you'll know all about them. You'll know what they do. You'll be probably driving around to afternoon clubs, paying for their education, all that sort of thing. And then we've got the Millennials. Joel?
Yes, that's me.
The millennials are the ones that are supposed to be tech-savvy, but in fact, we're told they're actually tech-dependent.
Yes, apparently.
And then we've got the Gen Z. Now, the Gen Z can be defined in a couple of ways. The first, rather flippant way, is to say, if you think the Amazon is an online shopping store and not a mighty river in the jungle, then you're probably Gen Z. But there's a more serious definition, which goes back to 9/11. 9/11 was a defining point for many of older generations in their lives. But for Gen Z, it's simply a memory. Simply history, not a memory. So if 9/11 is a piece of history to you, then that's a real defining character. Sorry, just getting a little clicking failure here.
Anyway, we focus on Gen Z for 3 reasons, 3 really interesting facts. One of them is that they are the most connected generation in history. And what that means is that they have a single, unifying voice. It's quite incredible and very different to millennials. That means a Gen Z person in India, in Australia, in the USA, they all feel the same way and they have the same attitudes. And that's quite incredible. That's for the first time in history. Now, the second reason is that they are very, very disruptive. Their attitudes and values are so different from how things traditionally work that they are destroying traditional business models. If you look at companies like Airbnb and Snapchat and think that they've been revolutionary, just wait and see what happens in the future. And thirdly and finally, they are very, very powerful, and they have the power to create change. That's because they have the money, they have the time, they have the tools, and they have the demographic power, 46% of the global population, to be able to create, in the years ahead, huge change.
Now, if that sounds interesting to you, there's actually a book here. Come to our stand, you can grab a copy. It's full of Gen Z features, hundreds of them. But for us at Zoomin, there are three that really, really stand out. They're sort of like a guiding mantra to us.
Gen Z are ambitious, they are compassionate, and they believe everybody in the world deserves a fair chance. Said more poetically, dare, care, share. Now that's Zoomin TV's DNA, and that is the way that we are guided for all of the content decisions we make. That philosophy, you're going to be hearing more about it soon.
Now, at Zoomin, we have a VJ network, something like 3,500 video journalists across the globe. We also manage 25,000 YouTube channels. And this huge wealth of information and content takes the pulse of a generation. And we found that by listening closely to the thousands of story pictures these guys are telling us, from our video journalists, and monitoring that content across those channels, we can develop shows for them, develop shows around both the content and the talent, shows by Gen Z for Gen Z. So this is a quick, sorry, this one should have played a bit earlier. Let's skip on. Sorry, guys.
Who's the tech-dependent ones now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're all tech-dependent. Now, in some cases, we'll be making these shows in-house. We've got a lovely brochure here, which some of you might have seen. For some of the more ambitious projects, we'll be looking for co-production partners out there in the TV world, partners that can complement us and bring to the TV screen or the TV format these stories. Now, we're told that Gen Zs always have their heads stuck in the phones and they're wandering around and they don't watch TV anymore. You've probably heard it here at this conference. You've probably heard it at other conferences. It's information we've been fed so much that we almost believe it. So we decided at Zoomin to use our VJ network to put that to the test. What they're telling us is simple. TV is entertainment, not a device. It's a format. And if you take one thing away from this talk here today, remember that. It's not a device, it's simply a format.
Okay, so let's move on to some Gen Z values, some things that they've experienced in their life. Now, first of all, I hope we're not giving you an information overload today, because every single one of us have huge tsunamis of information coming at us every single day. But for Gen Z, they're okay with that. Why? Because they've had it their entire lives, and they have developed coping mechanisms to deal with this. One of those is that they are very, very fast decision makers. They decide whether they want to see your content within 3 seconds. And indeed, that expands into every part of their life. The way that we use Tinder, instantly flicking right or left, they do for everything. But the other important thing is that they are very, very loyal. So if they like their content, they are going to stick around and keep consuming it. And they trust their online peers.
Let's meet one of their peers. James Kingston. You might have heard about him. He's one of the ones they trust and follow. James has almost 50 million YouTube views on his channel, with almost 500,000 subscribers. He knows how to address his audience in their language, and we thought we'd give James a chance to produce a bigger format for him, to upscale him.
So James, you've probably heard of him from online. He's a very interesting character because with just a GoPro in his hand, or sometimes in his mouth, he climbs up incredible buildings and gives us a whole new perspective on how to see our world. But at the same time, on these videos, while he's slipping while climbing or evading security, he's also providing a charming British commentary along the way. So that brings us to a really interesting question. Now think back to your businesses. What would James Kingston be doing there? Would he be a presenter? Would he be a camera person? Would he be an editor? How does he fit in? I believe that James Kingston and YouTubers are directors. That is essentially what they do. YouTubers are directors because they manage their own personal brands every single day. They have a specific way of making content, everything from the tech they use to the size of their teams, and it works perfectly. Indeed, these guys, they're like rock stars because they have been creatively free to do whatever they want. They've dedicated their careers to it, and it's working.
As producers, we do need to acknowledge that and give them room to innovate and be unique. We don't want to tread on their creative toes. We brainstorm with them. We make their work bigger and better. We're sort of upscaling them. but what we're doing must fit the format. We can't just take that YouTube content and throw it on telly. So we've got to adapt it and shape it for the medium. And that's what we've done with this series of shows. It's a 10-hour series, and MTG, our parent company, took little persuasion to jump in and commission this across the Nordics. But it's still out there, available for some other territories as well. So come and talk to us.
So let's move on to some different Gen Z values. Who are the heroes? Their heroes are not celebrities, not the kind of people that you'll see walking on the red carpet here. They are visionaries. They're people like Elon Musk, people who are willing to think big and think long term, and importantly, take personal risks for the good of other people. Now, what we see here is that, as I've demonstrated, other generations can have Gen Z values. It's about a philosophy, and it's about a way of life.
Now, there's another guy we're working with who is both daring, like James, but he's also quite caring. He's a young man called Chris Horsley, and in terms of content for us at Zoomin Studios, it was a no-brainer to develop something around his life.
Who's the man in the spacesuit? I guess, is it you under there, Chris?
It is, Chris. We did wonder. We did wonder.
Thank you so much for joining us here today, Chris.
No worries.
You've got helmet hair, I think.
Yeah, a little bit of helmet hair. There's enough of it.
Yeah, so let's kick it off. Tell me, how does a guy from Liverpool end up climbing into active volcanoes? How did that happen?
Well, it was years of being a travel photographer, 4 years of traveling around the world and doing the craziest things I could find. There was a chance meeting with renowned explorer and storm chaser Jeff Mackley that led me into Vanuatu, where I ended up climbing inside the most dangerous volcano in the world.
But this is not a hobby. People pay you to do this. So who are they?
Correct, yeah. We build our clientele out of filmmakers and also thrill seekers, thrillionaires. And these guys, we have like Japanese film stars, we have rock and rollers, and yeah, quite a diverse bunch.
Yeah, we all just want to get inside volcanoes. And they all do this. When they reach the volcano, everyone does this.
It's obligatory.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But of course, you don't just want to be an extreme tour guide for rich people. You have a greater purpose.
Yeah, I mean, using the modern day technology that we have now, i.e. drones and aerial mapping, I can do fantastic things there. And I can go into these places, lead expeditions, and also gather scientific data that can be valuable for a future purpose.
And this is why at Zoomin Studios we wanted to partner Chris and produce a TV series around his missions. I think there's about a series of 7 missions that are going to take you to your dream volcano, which is Mount Erebus. Now, tell them why Mount Erebus is special.
Well, Erebus is on the continent of Antarctica, and that is every explorer's biggest dream. It's the last untouched frontier. And I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be there with Google and really studying this volcano. And also there's a ban there that's anti-mining, and that's going to be lifted in 2048. So my generation, Generation Z, has the opportunity to change that and really put an impact on that.
That's good stuff. Thank you, Chris. Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
It does work. Now, there's a whole world out there full of amazing creators, like Chris, like James. And we can discover them at Zoomin Studios because Zoomin TV behind us has this huge network of global talent, of creators and videographers. And what Studios does is basically distill that down into content for the TV format. But it's not just about talent, it's also about ideas, Joel.
That's right. So let's take a bit of a serious tone now. Obviously, as we know, Generation Z have grown up in an economically uncertain world and a world that has also been affected by terrorism and 9/11. So for us, we've dealt with this as adults, but for Gen Z, it has formed their earliest impressions of society itself.
Now, during the course of last year, doing some filming with James and others, we came across someone who's Gen X, not Gen Z, but someone has something really important to say, someone really, really super interesting. I mean, we put this proposal together towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, but obviously you can see how relevant it is today. Now, my daughter, my 15-year-old daughter, thinks this is the most exciting in our deck. She just loves spy stuff. She just loves all that espionage stuff, and maybe it's a bit of Bond factor, I don't know. But the show we're putting together with Chris is not about lone wolf terrorists. It's about what some seriously bad guys could do. And it's about Chris playing the role of, if you like, a Bond villain, and looking at how he could bring down a city, how he could pressure test a city, push it to its limits, working with the security companies across the globe, and at the same time, making these cities safer for all of us.
Okay, let's head on to a lighter note now. Now, I want to talk about the main reason why millennials get such a bad rap from older generations. That's apparently because we are delaying our adulthood. We're staying at home for longer. We're kind of getting stuff for free from our parents, apparently. That means we're not interested in buying cars. We're not interested in houses. We're not interested in possessions. Now, I've got bad news for any of you Gen Z parents out there. We stay at home for up to 10 years. Gen Zs are going to stay at home for even longer. So that means one specific thing. These guys are going to have a lot of free time and not many responsibilities.
Every little review has this funny skit around it. You just need some structure and guidance. And with that, you've got a returnable series, one that opens the door to a whole new world of YouTube stars and stars in their cars. It's a parallel universe of stardom that these guys inhabit.
But there's one catch to working with YouTube is that you really have to remember. So on that shoot to Geneva, I was trying desperately to focus on the main shoot, but Louis brought his YouTuber friends along, and the entire time they were running off Instagramming the new models of cars, and it was like herding cats, grabbing these guys by the collar saying, focus on what we're doing. So the point that I'm making is that online stars are dedicated to their social media channels, and they will never give that up because you judge them on their numbers. You look at their numbers and judge them. So of course, you can't blame them for that. That means that you need to incorporate into your production schedule some time for online content, and you need to cross-promote your content online. That's how you make the most out of these stars.
Now, Louis' show is obviously perfect for branding. And he, like other Gen Zs, they know stuff needs to be paid for. And Gen Zs don't actually have a problem with advertising. They just hate ads, don't we all? So at studios, we're looking to advertisers to fund these shows directly in some cases. Let's disrupt that traditional commissioning straitjacket and find another route. Get more people around the table. We'll look at time buy, of course, but in some cases, we'll be able to just give these shows away to networks. It's what these YouTubers have been doing for years. Anyone know Susie? Anyone out there have heard of Susie? She's pretty huge. She's one of the top 10 fashion bloggers in the world, and she has a huge online following. And with her connections, we'll open the doors to the great fashion houses, and we'll see how they are taking on those Gen Z values. The days of finger-wagging are gone in the fashion industry. It's all about action now, fair trade, and for fashion manufacturers, really putting their money where their mouth is. And so that's what Susie's going to be looking at. Because if you don't, your product is going to be left on the shelf.
Now, first, I just want to say, Richard, do you know why we keep seeing that big thing that says Gen Z reel or such and such reel? It's because you're not meant to press the button. There's techies at the back that do that. So I'm definitely not totally tech dependent here. I think you've got some issues as well. So Susie and her peers believe that green is not a color. Nowadays, it's a way of life. It's not just an attitude, it's a complete way of life. And they are angry at older generations for not taking action. You know, you're a professor, right? But it's not about talking, it's about action. That's why Elon Musk is a hero, right?
Yeah.
He is innovating and he's doing it right now.
And that's the basis of our next format, looking for the next Elon Musk on a global scale. It's pulling in all those stories that the Zoomin TV network's getting put out on a daily basis, putting them together and producing a show which is both inspiring but also really cost-effective, a really cost-effective use of resources. And we can make this sort of content at Zoom in a way at a level that broadcasters can't, at a price that they can't match.
So guys, we're running out of time for you today because we have something really special to show you at the end. So that means we're not going to show you what this next slide is about, but you have to Google it. Go back one. We'll just quickly tell them Continuum.
Sorry, it's a bit of delay here on this button.
Continuum, spelt with 2 U's. The premise is 4 guys from all around the world form an online band together. They're YouTube stars, but they have never met in real life. They're making music together. We've been doing this for 4 months. They already have 130,000 subscribers on YouTube alone. Check them out to see how we're building that online platform. It's not a TV show at this stage, so you can't hear about it yet.
But it will be. We're making it in cooperation with Fremantle. And when their subscriber base hits 400,000, we'll then move it into TV with a pre-existing global audience. The TV show begins. It's a reality show. They're put in a house. They'll have a new band member. It'll all roll out from there. Now, we're also working with other co-pro partners. You can see here our neighbors in Amsterdam off the fence. And they're very interested in using the Zoomin network for producing far more content in a short form, again, putting it together into longer form content. And we're looking at talent both in front of the lens and behind the lens. If you want to hear more, come to our stand, and we've got some more of it on it there. But I think we're running out of time, so in the spirit of Steve Jobs, I'd like to say there's one more thing.
I think I can see some people actually sleeping in the audience, so I'm going to try and work you up here with this presentation.
Okay, we couldn't resist ending on a lighter note with something our colleagues at Zoomin TV have been doing. It's what you call a pet project, kind of, you might say. It's a bit of fun, but actually, it's connecting generations digitally, connecting them across a platform and bringing them together. Of course, at Studios, we're doing a whole lot more than that. We've got a bunch of other formats we just haven't had time to tell you about. All of them, though, connecting to Gen Z, bringing the sort of content to a TV format that they want, that they're asking for us. If you haven't got a brochure already, come and grab one at our stand.
Yep. So check out our book. Come to our booth and get a copy of this book. You'll learn much more about Gen Z in the process. And of course, come talk to us about our shows. If you have any more questions, come see us after the show. We hope you've learned something today, so thank you so much for your time and enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard and Joel, very much. Appreciate it. And Zoomin TV, excellent job. And now, and so now we'll just have a quick 10-minute break if you want to hang out here, and then we'll bring back Awesomeness TV. Again, follow #MIPTV. We'll see you in 10.